All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, all across the globe, welcome to another edition of Power Connections with Dr. Kevin Vaughan and my wonderful guest today, Dr. Nika White. Doc, how you doing today, ma'am? God bless
I
you.
am doing very well. I hope you are, Dr. Kevin. It's so good to be sharing this space and time with you.
Oh, thank you so much for your time, Doc. Yes, ma'am. I'm so excited because it's just great to be alive today. As you know, a lot
So
going on
true.
the planet, a lot going on the planet, ladies and gentlemen. And we're just thankful to be here and just excited about you being with us. Thank you so much again for your time. Doc, always we tell people about power connections. We bring in powerful people like Dr. White to talk about their wonderful gifts and, of course, their professional talents and services and goods. We're going to be talking about that today to get some insight on what's happening in her area. Also, too, guys, we bring in folks that have a message and it's going to help you out today. So mainly, guys, for those who are in business, guys, maybe you're working for somebody else or have thousands of employees, guys, as well working for you. We want you to pay attention today to Dr. White as we talk about some powerful subjects. Hey, guys, also too, always like to give our guest doc opportunity to talk about whatever's from your heart, just a little words of encouragement and empowerment, but anything you want to share before we get started today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I am so looking forward to today's conversation. So thank you again for having me. This is a pivotal time, as you have referenced, and I'm sure that a lot of people are
Yeah.
probably listening into this conversation, holding a lot of anxieties, maybe a lot of uncertainty about the future.
Yes.
And I just want everyone to take a moment just to breathe, breathe and relax, because we need to make sure that we are grounding and centering ourselves
Yeah.
to prepare for all that's to come. And so I'm sure we're going to delve more into some of those big pivotal moments that we both have referenced, and to hopefully find some way of quietening our spirits and our minds as we just navigate these next several months in a way where we feel best prepared.
Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. White. Yes, man, we need that mental stability, if you will, folks. I think
Yes,
it,
yes.
amen. And Doc's going to help us out today with that. Hey, guys, we're just excited. Doc, I've been scared. I look at the media, of course, across the land, and one of the hottest topics on the planet is DEI. No doubt about it. DEI is on everybody from the government all the way down to the home in some cases as
Yes.
well. So I wanted to ask you first about a little bit before we get started with that. But before, I almost forgot, guys, before I do that, I want to read a little bit about Doc. I was going to give her a bio a little bit as
Okay.
well. But you can go to her
Thank you.
website, guys. Yeah. Matter of fact, her website is awesome, guys. So, guys, I want you to go to her website. It's nikawhite.com, nikawhite.com for her website as well. Real quickly, guys. Hey, Dr. Nika White helps maximize people's organization and effectiveness, potential, and capacity, guys. Her overall practice, ladies and gentlemen, and scholarship area is for organizational development, specifically focusing in on systematically and operationally strategic and intentional efforts that foster diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. That's the one I want to hear about, that belonging stuff. She maximizes people and organizations' effectiveness, potential, and the capacity through optimized systems and culture. This holistic approach centers organizations' most essential assets. It's a human capital, ladies and gentlemen, she talks about. The heart of Dr. White, ladies and gentlemen, work is at the intersection of organizational development and industrial psychology. I love it. She systematically moves people and organizations towards a change for better results to ensure the alignment of goals, objectives, and sustainable transformation. Dr. White relies on her extensive expertise, guys, and experience in marketing and communication. Wow. Welcome again, everybody. Dr. Nika White to Power Connection. Doc, again, welcome to the network. I love it. I love it. Hey, Doc, let's dive in. Amen. Let's dive right in. Doc, DEI is such a hot topic today in the USA specifically. Why is that? What's going on? Can you kind of enlighten us a little bit? What's going on in your field?
Yes. Well, while it may seem that DEI is somewhat has newly surfaced, what I will say to that is there is a greater intentionality of people vocalizing their thoughts about DEI right now because of a lot that's happening within our society.
Yeah.
I will tell you that back in, a few years ago when we all were so we witnessed the murder of George Floyd. Of course, that that's when we saw a very significant uptick of people talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. There were a lot of organizations that made public commitments to deepening the value of DEI to their respective organizations. And so a lot of excitement ensued. Many practitioners, such as myself, we were inundated with requests from all types of organizations looking to really deepen their commitment to DEI. And then if we fast forward a few years later, we found that many of those commitments, they were hollow, and many of those organizations did not stick to the plan. Now, I won't say all, but I will say many. So that has become a big point of criticism and discussion for those of us who are advocates and champion of this work. And then when we think about, just within the recent months, how the Supreme Court made a decision to prevent affirmative action from, continuing to be something that's leveraged throughout federal agencies and higher learning institutions. And that was a big blow to those of us who understand the value of affirmative action and its place in helping to create greater equity and parity. And then again, fast forward to a big conversation that's finding its way right now into the political arena is Project 2025, right? Where this plan is definitely leaning towards trying to eradicate everything that involves diversity, equity, and inclusion. Some of the key points is that they want to dismantle several federal agencies, propose substantial tax cuts, dismiss thousands of civil servants, expand presidential power. And then specifically as it relates to how it is impacting DEI initiatives, again, as I referenced, they are looking to eliminate DEI programs in the federal government. They want to remove terms like sexual orientation, gender identity, diversity, equity, and inclusion from all federal laws and regulations. We're seeing changes to immigration policies, that's built into the Project 2025, banning the collection of, equal opportunity data, including racial information, which could hinder efforts to address systemic inequalities. And so to get back to your question, Dr. Kevin, this is a big topic right now, and it's because we are seeing an increase of entities vocalizing their displeasure with DEI, devaluing it, denouncing it. And so it's just creating kind of this ripple effect to where it is finding its way into so many different conversations that are top of mind for people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. White. That's powerful. Doc, some people don't really understand DEI, as you know. So if you would give us a quick version of that, I don't know to say a quick definition of
I
DEI.
will.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's so interesting that I think we've used kind of the nomenclature DEI so
Yeah.
frequently that some people think they're all one and the same, right? But they're actually very distinct
Yeah.
concepts. So the first is diversity. Diversity is just simply a point of respect in which things differ,
Mhm.
period. And I often like to amplify that because there are a lot of people who need to deepen their understanding and their knowledge of diversity and not just see it as the optics of age, race, and gender. Certainly, those are really critical dimensions of diversity that we have to pay attention to, but
Yeah.
it is much broader than that. The reach and the breadth of it is a lot more than what we normally talk about when we gravitate to conversations related to diversity. And so I think that's really critically important. The
Yeah.
next thing is when we talk about inclusion, we
Yeah.
don't have to do anything to create diversity. Diversity is already here and happening, but
Right. Right.
inclusion requires us to be very intentional. It requires us to be action oriented, to believe in a process that the efforts we're putting forth is going to yield a result that's going to benefit us all. And so we do have to be very intentional about creating inclusion. So that's kind of the difference between diversity and inclusion. And then let's add in equity.
Yeah.
Equity is really key because it is the cornerstone. It is almost the why. Why are we doing these things? If we aren't, really paying attention to diversity and inclusion for the
Right.
sake of justice and equity, then I often say, what are we doing this for? So
Right.
it should be really our why. And it's a choice. It's a choice because it doesn't happen organically. It really does require leaders and organizations to be thoughtful about where those
Yeah.
disparities exist and
Yeah.
solving for it systemically so that we can create that level of parity across all different individuals. We all have a different starting place and different
Yeah.
circumstances. And
Yeah.
sometimes, Dr. Kevin, the word equity gets conflated with
Right.
equality.
Mm,
They're interconnected, but
yeah.
the distinction is that equity is different in that it takes into account the vast needs of individuals from person to person, and it
Mhm.
really tries to align to meet those needs. Equality is giving everyone the same thing and having the assumption that giving everyone the same thing is automatically going to
Right.
yield success for everyone, and that's not the case.
Right.
And so diversity, equity, inclusion, they're all distinct, but they are interconnected and they are equally important.
Amen. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Dr. White here about DEI, and we're going to talk about DEIB in a minute, which I didn't even know existed either. So that's good. I love it. But Doc, so that's important that people understand that you literally have to get the leaders to understand DEI. Is that correct? You got to
Of
get the
course,
leaders.
you
Yeah.
must start there. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
leaders have the ability to
Whew.
shape culture, to influence policies, procedures. And so, if
Right.
leaders aren't leaning into the value of equity and the purpose of it, then they're not going to be able to help encourage that and
Yeah.
model practices of it throughout the organizations in which they're serving as leaders. And so, we
Yeah.
often say, let's start with your leadership team,
Yeah.
and then let's let that trickle down throughout the organization.
Absolutely. Now, also, too, Doc, when you get a contract for that type, if you will, for a large corporation, small, medium-sized corporation, do you get and help them out on their policies and procedures too, helping them to at least consider writing those for the, not for them,
Yes.
you help them out in that
Yes.
area? Good. That's good.
Absolutely. Sometimes the question is, well, where do we start, Dr.
Yeah.
Waite? And
Right.
sometimes the starting point is let's gather some data,
Yeah.
leveraging both qualitative and quantitative data collection strategies to understand what is our current baseline,
Yep.
where there are opportunities that we need to refine. And oftentimes we see that within the policies is the best place to start, right?
Yeah.
It
Right.
amazes me how so many organizations will have, their policies in place and
Yeah.
they won't go back and revisit them, even though our world is evolving,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think that's always a critical best practice is to make sure you're looking at your policies, your procedures, and that you are asking the right questions and
Yeah.
collecting data that's not just quantitative, but also qualitative. That's where really the narrative unfolds. And it gives us greater
Yeah.
ammunition to understand how to solve for those challenges.
I love it, Doc. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is Dr. Nika White. We're talking about DEI, powerful area. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Because I tell you, matter of fact, most of my clients, Doc, around the country, actually around the globe, are entrepreneurs. So it's pretty exciting,
Yes.
guys. You're going to learn a lot today. We've got a lot of folks who are leaders, of course, as well. But Doc, I wanted to ask you, I'm sure you have to integrate with HR. Any HR,
Yes.
you got to start at the front end and the
Yes.
back end. Tell us a little about how HR has to be involved in this process. Woo-hoo.
There's
Wow.
so much to be said about
Yeah.
HR and
Yeah.
its role. So first, I
Yeah.
will I will acknowledge that it hasn't been until recent years
Right. That's okay.
that HR trainings and programs have
Yeah.
started to become much more intentional about
Right.
incorporating a lens of DEI. It
Right.
was non-existent within the HR realm and discipline
Wow.
for so long, but I am glad that now it's
Yeah.
evolving.
Yeah.
Now, oftentimes HR is seen as the entity that is put in place to protect the organization.
Right.
And what happens is if those leaders and individuals are so keenly set on protecting the organization, the
Yeah.
question then surfaces who's protecting the employees, right?
Right.
So I think it's critically important for those HR managers, leaders, directors, chief HR officers to make sure that they are first and foremost educating themselves deeply on the disciplines of diversity, equity, and inclusion and how that intersects with the function of employee engagement because they're very much interconnected. And not only that, but working closely with those internal stakeholders who are charged directly with the responsibility of managing and operationalizing DEI.
Right.
I do believe that the function of DEI should stand on its own and be a direct report into the CEO of the organization.
Yeah.
But I also understand too that it's critically important for those DEI leaders to also work in concert with the HR leaders as well. There's different skill sets that I think both parties bring that can help strengthen the organization. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that right now, I think myself and so many other practitioners that care deeply about this work of DEI, we are concerned that one of the most significant governing bodies, if you will, and certifying bodies of HR professionals, and I'm talking about SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management, has recently made the decision to remove equity from
Wow.
its nomenclature of how in which it talks about
Yeah.
diversity and inclusion. And that's a big concern for us.
Right. Right.
For who are really fighting
Yeah.
to make sure that equity stays up front and center. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of discussion that's happening
Yeah.
right now, and a lot of criticism, and a lot of
Yep.
ways in which the community in general is trying to stand in solidarity with this
Yeah.
message of equity is important and it should
Right.
not fall by the wayside.
Oh, I love it, Doc. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you got to know in our nation, ladies and gentlemen, know we the people rule. We the people, not they the people. It's we the
We
people.
the people.
That's right. So we can make that change as Doc has recommended there. So guys, your voice is important out there and at all levels, but in this area specifically, your voice is important. You got to speak up, guys. You have to speak up. You got to get with
Yes.
Doc to get some direction and ways you should handle stuff. But speak up. If you have a corporation or working for a corporation or a large whatever business, just business in general, because our whole economy is affected by that. Doc, as you know,
Yes.
the whole economy is going to make a difference, guys. That's powerful, and I love it. Hey, guys, this is Power Connections with Dr. Nika White. Ladies and gentlemen, talking about DEI. Doc, I want to ask about the difference between inclusion and now belonging. I didn't even know belonging was a part of that process. What is that? What is belonging? I thought I already belonged.
So belonging has become, part of the DEI conversation
Absolutely.
over the most recent years. And it is
Wow.
really significant because it is the outcome of
Okay.
diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you put those three together and you really
Okay.
are being effective in leveraging the power of those
Yeah.
three constructs, then what you get is belonging. And one thing, Dr. Kevin, that I often say to individuals is that it is hard for any person, regardless of their background and their demographics.
Hmm.
But it is hard for any person to show up at their best in any environment if that person is always questioning, do
Yeah.
I belong here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I seen? Am I valued? Am I heard? Do
Yeah.
I have full opportunity for success? Does my voice matter? Am I safe?
Yeah.
And so those are really important questions that allows us to feel like we belong. And
Hmm.
when we feel like we belong, we bring in our A game to the different environments that we may find ourselves in. And when we think about the workplace in general,
Yeah.
I know that you said a lot of your audience members are entrepreneurs. We
Yeah.
rely on our colleagues to show up at their best every single day so that we, as a team, as a department, as a unit, as an
Yeah.
organization, as a business, we can be at our best. And so belonging is acceptance and validation and knowing that you are enough and that you belong in that space. So it's really,
Yeah.
really powerful.
Oh, I love it. That's good to hear. I love that. While you was talking, Doc, I was just writing down who oversees all this good stuff. I mean, the audits. Do you do audits as well? Who oversees to make sure that companies are compliant, that they're doing whether it's
Yeah.
government level, it could be county, city, state, federal government. I don't care who it is, as long as they got employees there. Somebody's got to oversee to make sure people are being fairly treated. Is that part of the
Yes.
effort as well?
It
Wow.
is. Well, I think that, certainly there are some laws and regulations
Yeah.
that tries to protect the certain classification of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
particularly those that are protected by those classifications.
Yeah.
But we are finding that they're being challenged, which is why I brought up earlier the
Right.
Project 2025
Yeah.
and the decision that was made that impacted the affirmative action,
Yeah.
rulings. And
Yeah.
so what I am encouraged by, though, is that while we are continuing to hear a lot of organizations pulling back their budgets and their commitments to DEI, there
Yeah.
are also an equal number, if not more, organizations that are doubling down
Yeah.
in their commitments and they're going deeper into the work. And I think that's important to amplify because, right now the noise is really loud and it's causing some people to believe that the
Yeah.
naysayers are
Yeah.
winning the battle.
Yeah.
And I refuse to believe that. I think there's an equal number of stories that we need to amplify. And so oftentimes it's the commitment of just those private organizational leaders that says, this is important to our organization. It's a business imperative as well as it's centers on humanity, and we must stay to course. And so do not get discouraged if you're someone that maybe is feeling on the fence and you're feeling a little anxious about all that you're hearing and seeing. Stay to course. I promise you that this work is not ever going away. As long as we're going to be in a society where people exist, humans exist,
Yeah.
then we're definitely going to need to have some forward thinking, innovative solutioning for ensuring cultures of inclusion and of a strong sense of belonging.
Oh, I love it, Doc. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, around the country, around the world, if you're just joining us, this is Power Connections with Kevin Vaughan and Dr. Nika White. We're talking about DEI and DEIB as well. You know, again, while you was talking, I hope y'all taking some notes out there, Doc. I hope they're listening to you and taking some notes as well.
I hope so too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can go to our website, guys. The website's right there. There it is right there. I think that's it. Yeah, right there. Go to our website, guys, nikawhite.com as well. But Doc, I was writing down, we got to talk to our young people, specifically those who just graduated. And how does this affect them, Doc? They just graduated and looking to get into the workforce or start businesses. Can you talk to our young people about what is going on with them? Is there any strategy?
Yes. This is interesting, Dr. Vaughan, because I'm encouraged by our young people.
Yeah.
And I say that because they are teaching us a lot about, being emboldened, about the type of environments in which they want to work in which they feel like they can thrive, right? And the type of workspaces that is really conducive for yielding meaningful, purposeful work. And they're going to shape, I think, a lot of the workplaces of the future. And so, what I will say is keep continuing to challenge the status quo, keep continuing to care deeply about inclusion and diversity, and to make that known as you're showing up to these spaces. I think that's critically important and something that definitely we all should be taking notice of. I also want to say that young people, when you finally get to that place to where you're out on your own and you are fully adulting, right? You're off your mom and dad's or guardian's payroll. Then one of the most important things you can do, and hopefully you started this a couple years back because, the voting age is definitely 18. And that is to vote. Absolutely to go and vote. I will tell you that I am hearing a number of, Gen Zers that are questioning whether or not they want to be a part of the elections this year to vote. And what I'll say to that is our ancestors worked incredibly too hard for us to disrespect that honor and that right to vote. And so, I'm not even going to get into who to vote for right now. Just vote. Go and vote, right?
Register.
So there's a lot that we can learn, but there's also, I think, some opportunity for us just to amplify the importance of voting, because I am hearing from that generation that they are not as keen on voting for a number of reasons in this particular election, and we need those votes.
Absolutely, no doubt about it, Doc. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Power Connections with Dr. White today. Hey, Doc, I got to ask this question because you just hit a critical area because, guys, you have to register to vote. And the reason why, Doc, talk a little bit about because voting gives you that opportunity to change policies and procedures. If your leaders up there in Washington or wherever they're at, in the city, government, county, wherever they're at, I mean, at all levels, you got to vote, guys, not
all
just
levels.
Federal, all levels, because they
all
could
levels.
be affecting your money. They could be affecting your policy. Your money, your business. You may not even get a license because you picked the wrong person, or you didn't, or the wrong person got in office because you didn't vote. So, Doc, can you talk about how you can bridge that gap while registering, voting, and affects our livelihoods in some cases?
Yes, it is critical, and I think that this year's election is. Someone described it as life or death, and I believe that to my core. I do. So we have to vote. And you're right. I'm glad that you amplified. It's not just those federals; it's local as well. So just get into the habit of just making sure that you're well on top of the timing of those elections and the candidates, and you're doing your research and your homework and you're listening and you're learning. But don't deny that that privilege of being able to vote. Yeah,
that's great. Hey, guys, minimum for those who are, just graduated or maybe under 30, anybody under 30, 35 or whatever. Google how government works, please. Just Google how government works and learn it. Please understand that there's procedures and policies and there's all kind of ways that the government must work. They have to follow certain laws, but if a majority says we want it this way, it's going to happen. But unless we vote, guys, and change it, it's going to happen the way you may not like it, okay? So important, guys.
Yes.
Of course, we don't tell you how to vote. We want you to register and vote. Okay,
Yes.
that's up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Doc, is so important that they understand the process of how we govern our.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So
Right. And for
just
many of us that, may find ourselves a part of these marginalized, historically marginalized communities
yeah,
where we often, feel like as though we don't have a voice, this
right,
is one way that
right,
cannot be denied to us. And so why not take advantage of that? That is your
exactly.
voice. And
Yeah.
it's a really, really critical way to leverage your voice. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys, it's in the Constitution, man. It starts off with we the people, guys. We the
Be the
people.
people.
Say amen. We don't have no dictatorships. We don't have no kings and all that mess. We don't do that here. So, guys,
Yeah.
in order to protect it, we got to vote.
You got to
We
vote.
got to vote. I love it. Well, guys, I'm here with Dr. White. We're gonna take a commercial break. Doc, how can people get in touch with you as well? Let's talk about that book too behind you there a little bit. Let's talk about your book and how people can get in touch with you.
So really easy. I know you pointed out a couple of times in our conversation today that the website is
Yeah,
nikawhite.com. That is the easiest way. It'll take
yeah.
you to all of our
Good.
social media platforms. It'll give you an overview of some of the service offerings we have
Yeah,
through my firm, which is a full service, DEIB
yeah,
management consulting firm where we intersect the work of DEI with leadership and business, working with all types of clients, different industries and sectors, and
yeah.
would love to also be a partner to any of you that are seeking to catapult your DEI leadership to the next level. And you also referenced my book, so thank you so much for asking about my
Yes,
book,
yes,
Dr. Vaughan.
yeah.
This is book number 3 for me. It was
Woo-hoo.
released in July of 2023, and so more than a year old now.
Yeah,
And it was in partnership with Forbes Books. They're my publisher, and it's
yeah.
called Inclusion Uncomplicated: A Transformative Guide to Simplify DEI. It's available in Kindle, hardback copy, audiobook. So I hope that you will take an opportunity to add that as a resource in
Yeah.
your library.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Doc. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you got guys you listening out there and know anybody who has a podcast, digital television, love to invite Doc out for interviews as well, but
Yes.
also to speaking engagements as well, guys. As well. So I
Yes.
want to encourage you guys to do that. So, guys, if you have a platform, all my network out there around the globe, if you have, I don't care if you're in Germany or if you're in Australia, guys, or Japan,
Absolutely.
don't matter. It don't matter. Contact Dr. White to have her on your show on your program to talk about these areas because I believe these topics are global, not just in the United
Yes.
States as well. So yeah, we got to protect what we do and what we do each and every day. Well, Doc, I love it. Hey guys, don't forget to go to the website. That's nikawhite.com, nikawhite.com. Doc, our next area, I wanted to hear a little bit just based on your experiences. What's some of the pros and cons of DEIB now these days? Any pros and cons? We like to hear some stories, some quick stories about your success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think we can probably only point to the pros. I think that the cons that are out there is simply, from the individuals
A
that
little bit.
devalue,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that
Yeah.
devalue DEI. But here's what I often say: I think that that level of resistance
Yeah.
is mostly a lack of clarity, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that, for those of us who are advocates and are champions, we can do a better job of being intentional about helping to bridge the gap of that lack of clarity so that we can bring others along this journey with us, right?
Mhm.
I often say when people ask me, who is your book written for? It was not written for individuals that dig their heels in deeply into the
Yeah.
sand and say, I am very much committed to, having certain populations of people that are inferior and certain populations of people that are superior. And I'm going to continue to operate with the mindset of prejudice and bigotry. I'm not
Yeah.
talking to those individuals because I
Right.
feel like there is a greater population of people
Yeah.
who are just unaware. They
Yeah.
need to be much more educated on the topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion,
Mhm.
not only in theory, but in practice. How do we actually apply that to all the spaces in which we show up?
Yeah.
Um, and, sometimes we often talk about the business case for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I won't deny that there certainly are business imperatives that are very much associated with a commitment to DEI. But more than that, I feel like we also need to amplify that it is simply the right thing to do. It is the human-centric way to just show up
Yeah.
in any space, right? And we all are deserving of that.
Yeah.
And once we see that we're able to really lean into this concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion, very intentional way, we're going to find people that are more confident,
Yeah.
that are more competent in their roles and their abilities to show up at their best. We're
Yeah.
going to find that it's going to be a much more interesting and innovative kind of world because we're going to be, really challenging each other with different thoughts and experiences. And
Mhm.
so I venture to say that we need to shift our paradigm from looking and seeing diversity, equity, and inclusion as something that we need to be obligated to. Because if we're obligated, it feels like a burden, right? But we
Right.
need to shift it and see it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Oh, absolutely, Doc. No doubt about it. I was thinking about the word understanding. Guys, you got to understand the
Yes.
thing. You got to be
Yes.
also taught. That means training, guys. When you're trained properly, I don't care
Yes.
how many weeks it has to be, but you got to get it, as one of my mentors would say. You got to get and understand. That's what I think that's part of the challenge that people don't understand or take the time to
Mm,
understand. Not that you can't understand, folks. You got to take the time to understand the process or understand the why. Matter of fact,
yes.
we're getting ready to teach some more on why. Why are we doing this? Why we do anything. You got to know why you're doing it.
Right. I think that's so important. And I often encourage people that if you start to really lose some of your passion and some of your drive, because this
Right,
work is really, really hard, it is. So if
right.
you get to that point, then go back to your why. Remember the why. The
Yeah,
why has an incredibly powerful way of refueling our commitment,
yeah.
of building back up that momentum so that we can continue to stay in
Yeah.
the game.
I love it.
Because this work is way too important for us to not be at our best as we're trying to, again, bring others along.
Absolutely, guys. That's powerful. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Power Connections with Dr. White today, talking about DEIB today. And we're just excited about that. Hey, we got to wrap up because we got to move it on. Hey, Doc, real quick, I want to ask you about certifications. Can people get certified through you in this area? Or do you have any openings in this area that people say, I want to come work for Doc? Is that possible?
So we don't have any kind of formal certifications, but I will tell you, we do a lot of customization around inclusive leadership that
Yeah.
fits kind of the mold and the needs of
Yeah.
different organizations. And so through that, sometimes
Yeah.
when that is developed and facilitated, there certainly is a certificate that is given at the end just to show that people have committed to the process.
Yeah.
But there's, when I think about DEI certification, there's so many great organizations out there that does that on a really high level. My certification, CDE, Certified Diversity Executive, is through the Society for Diversity, also known as the Institute for Diversity Certification. And so if someone's interested in going the route of being formally certified, that is one source that I would recommend as well. But there are also others. Um, and so are we hiring right now? We are always interested in connecting with individuals that care deeply about this work the way that we do. We believe that there's value in having so many different practitioners that approach this work in different ways because there's so many organizations with a vast number of needs. And it
Yeah.
just may be that one practitioner may not necessarily meet those needs precisely as someone else that has a different, level of experiences.
Yeah.
And so we're always looking to add on 1099 consultant partners
Right.
in that capacity to our organization. So feel free to reach out to us.
Love it, guy. Hey, you can go to the website, guys,
Yes.
nikawhite.com, nikawhite.com, and add that information there if you like for that request. That's wonderful. Hey, Doc, we got to get out of here because I tell you, we got to have you back in the future periodically, keep us up to date what's happening in these areas as well. But Doc, any final thoughts, if you don't mind? Final thoughts.
I think I'm going to kind of end the same way that I started, which is just reminding us all to breathe. We are
Yeah.
holding a lot right now,
Yeah.
right? A lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety.
Absolutely. Wow.
And I don't want that to cloud our judgment. I don't want that to cause us to fear.
Right.
But I want us to be well grounded and center ourselves in a way that's going to allow us to show up at our best. And so, breathe, do whatever you can to make sure you're taking care of self and your well being, because we all deserve that and we need that for the months to come.
You got that right, Doc. You got that right. Just breathe, folks, because your mind needs oxygen. Your brain needs oxygen.
Yes, 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 absolutely.
That's wonderful, guys. Hey, guys, this is Power Connections with Dr. Nika White. We're here with her talking about DEIB. Again, go to her website for more information. That's nikawhite.com for more details about her services. And, of course, her book, All the Above. Beautiful website, too, Doc. I don't know who did it. But tell them thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, really nice website there. Thank you so much for that. nikawhite.com, nikawhite.com. Well, Doc, as always, thank you so much for your time today. We're just excited about your future, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, one of my signature moves, guys, that your future is so bright. Got to put my shades on, guys. Your future is bright. But pay attention and do a lot of reading, too, Doc. We got to tell people, do some reading. Don't forget to register to vote. And vote later on if you guys want to do that. We encourage you because the process requires we the people. It requires
we the people.
Oh, that's right. I love it. Well, Doc, again, thank you so much for your time today. Hold on for a few minutes, Doc, if you don't mind. But thank you so much. And we're going to leave you with this, guys. Remember to always, always out-love, out-serve, and out-forgive each other. And remember, there's nothing you can't do with the right consulting. There she is right there, Nika White Consulting. You get the right consulting, you'll be on the path of much success. So we're so glad that you're here today. Hey, guys, I want you guys to share this out, okay, on your platforms, guys. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on about 10 platforms on this end. But I want you guys to push this out on your platforms as well. This is definitely going out on TikTok. I think TikTok will hit probably 1,000 easy with a Doc on today. So I'm excited about that. I'll let you know the numbers later on, Doc. I know it's crazy on TikTok. I love it. All we want is visibility. We want people to see Doc and understand what she's doing. And of course, you guys can have her on your shows, okay? I want to encourage you guys to get her on your show as well, okay? And reach out to her through nikawhite.com, nikawhite.com. All right. Hey, we got to get out of here, guys. Take care and have a great day. Hey, have a great week, guys. It's another week. Be intentional and be on purpose and enjoy your wonderful life. This is Kevin Vaughan with Dr. Nika White on Power Connections. Again, Doc, thank you again.
Thank you.
Amen. God